Welcome to the Finance Marketing Podcast, a show that empowers finance professionals to market their businesses in ways that feel good and actually achieve results. I'm your host, Hillary. I've been working with folks in financial services to develop marketing strategies that work and create results-oriented marketing content since 2020. And I've learned a lot about what works in finance marketing, what doesn't work, and where financial services pros get stuck. Join us each Friday as we explore real, effective ways to market your finance business and connect with folks who truly embody your ideal clients. I'm excited to welcome Steven Jarvis back to the Finance Marketing Podcast this week. If you don't know Steven, he is the CEO and head CPA of Retirement Tax Services, where he's transforming the way the financial planning industry does tax planning. This is Steven's second time on the podcast, and I brought him back because I wanted to dive deeper into something we touched on during our last conversation, which is how advisors can strategically market their tax planning services to truly differentiate themselves, rather than just adding generic tax planning language to their websites, usually on their services page. Steven shares that there is currently an oversaturation of tax planning claims by advisors in their marketing, but an undersaturation of actual execution and value added to clients. This creates a huge opportunity for advisors who are willing to be hyper-specific and intentional about how they communicate the tax planning value that they actually do with their clients. So in our conversation today, Steven shares exactly how advisors who are really doing tax planning can cut through the noise by focusing on the deliverables that they offer whenever they're talking about their tax planning services, rather than relying on buzzwords that every other advisor is using. So if you've been wondering how to better communicate with leads and prospects about the tax planning that you do with your clients, this episode will give you the concrete strategies that you need. So without further ado, let's dive in. Steven, I'm so excited to have you back on the Finance Marketing Podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Hillary. So excited to be having another conversation with you.
I am too, and I'm really excited to talk about what you have coming up later this fall, because I think it's going to be so helpful for advisors. Just to give people a little bit of context and background. So we actually just got off a recording doing your podcast where we were talking about, you can offer all this value to your clients, but if you're not talking about that in your marketing and you're not nurturing people into wanting to become clients, you're not bringing in new leads in a really systematic, strategic way, well, what's it all for then? Yeah. So on my podcast, I would actually like to hear about what are some ways that you and your brother Matthew really help advisors just up their value to clients and up their expertise.
Yeah. So excited to talk about it. So I appreciate you having me on and giving me a chance to do it, because when I started Retirement Tax Services, which has been over 4 years ago now, the goal, not so humbly stated, was to transform the way financial advisors do tax planning. And so what I care about the most is helping people take action. And so that comes through in a lot of different ways. The podcast gives valuable content. What I do on LinkedIn gives valuable content. The different memberships and resources we have. And some of this is just solving for what I enjoy doing. But there is an element of what you can learn in person, rubbing shoulders with other people, that you're not going to get from anywhere else. And so in 2023 was the first time we did an in-person event that we call the Summit, to get advisors together so that not only can they learn from people who do this all the time like me, but they can learn from each other. There are things that people learn from other audience members that I could never plan for, that I love to create the opportunity for. And so that's part of the reason we love doing the Summit. But whatever medium we're using to talk to financial advisors, at the end of the day, for me, I measure success by, was the advisor able to take something I said and put it into action? That's what I care about.
And I really see this kind of dual benefit of advisors getting better at tax planning. Is that's better for their clients, right? Mm-hmm. And that's got to also be better for the team working with the clients. Most clients who are working with an advisor are working with a CPA. Mm-hmm. And you want that relationship between the advisor and the CPA to be an aligned relationship where things are really efficient and they're working together. And so I can imagine that it's kind of a must-have at this point.
Yeah, and it's becoming more and more so, especially from the financial advisor side, because the tax professional industry is definitely getting strained for talent and resources. I'm sure you have many listeners who will resonate with this immediately, that they're hearing from more clients and prospects of, hey, where do I get tax help? My tax professional won't respond to my calls. No one will take on my tax return. And so it is going from a nice to have to an almost a need to have. Everyone pays taxes. And so it's also a great topic because there's no, you don't have to convince people that there's value in the tax topic. Like, everyone knows it's painful and that they would love to be able to do something different about it. And so the other thing I always point out to advisors is that if you are helping people with money, which all financial advisors are, you already are having a tax impact. So the question is, are you going to be intentional about it or not? And so I spend my time helping advisors kind of bridge that gap between, okay, I'm having an impact on taxes, to get to the other side of I'm being intentional about that impact I'm having on taxes.
And I can just imagine, just to kind of tie this back to marketing, I can just imagine once you're feeling confident about your ability to do that and you know that you are being intentional, what a differentiator for you from all the other advisors who aren't doing that or aren't doing that yet. That's something really powerful. Like you said, everybody has this tax pain point.
Yeah.
That's something really powerful that you can talk about in your marketing.
Well, and especially since we're here talking about marketing, and Hillary, I know you're a big proponent of this. Like, the words themselves don't count for everything. Like, you got to have something to back it up. So one of the things, because I get a lot of questions from advisors on, hey, is tax planning still a differentiator? I see it everywhere. And I'm with you. I see it everywhere as well. But I think what we're dealing with right now is an oversaturation of marketing on tax planning, not an oversaturation of execution. And so, yes, everyone picked up on, hey, this is a great buzzword, I should talk about tax planning. But there is still a huge gap between the number of advisors who list tax somewhere on their website and the ones actually doing any meaningful work around it.
Right. Can we talk a little bit about the difference between maybe some surface level tax planning that advisors might do versus some of the deeper things that you get into? I'm imagining maybe some advisors think that they're doing tax planning if they're helping their clients balance where they're contributing to a Roth versus a traditional or something like that, and then say, oh, we did tax planning.
Yeah, so I'd say that the single biggest problem is that most advisors are super vague about what they mean by tax planning. And so some of them list tax planning because they feel like they're supposed to, and then they don't really do much of anything about it. To your point, maybe for a lot of advisors, it's one thing that comes up. I see tax loss harvesting quite often as that's the one thing we do on tax planning, which, not that it doesn't have a tax impact, but if you're an advisor who is on a platform where the tax loss harvesting happens automatically, which is more and more common anymore, you really haven't set yourself apart from the Vanguard robo advisor. Like, we want to look for things that actually set you apart. And thankfully, it doesn't have to be super complicated. You don't have to set up intentionally defective grantor trusts in the Cayman Islands to be doing good tax planning. For most clients, what they need is help consistently implementing the simple things over time. So that really can be as simple as, hey, we're going to look at what type of accounts you should be contributing to. We're going to look at what your distribution strategy should be and what tax locations these should come from. We're going to look at Roth conversions. We're going to help you identify how to strategically do your charitable giving to actually get a tax benefit. It can be as simple as, we're going to look at your withholdings and estimated payments to make sure you're not getting killed on underpayment penalties. I think the biggest gap I'm seeing is consistency, not complexity.
I love that. And it seems to me to be too, it's not just one thing, right? Are we thinking about taxes at every part of the strategy? Are we bringing this into the conversation when I'm recommending that you do other things as well? So it becomes kind of just a core part of your service.
Yeah, as a financial advisor, it's, hey, are you recognizing that by default, the tax reporting your custodian does probably isn't good enough? There are so many places where if there isn't a proactive and collaborative relationship between the financial advisor and the tax preparer, things are going to get missed. Things that might feel simple to the advisor, but we see them get missed all the time. So there's this huge opportunity for financial advisors to educate themselves and improve their skills marginally. Let's just be honest. Like, you don't need to become a CPA or get a master's in taxation. You need to commit some time to learn the piece that's relevant to your clients. You don't have to learn all 80,000 pages of the tax code. Learn the pieces that are relevant to your clients. Make sure you can consistently help them execute on that, and you're going to blow away most other advisors out there.
So do you have any, based on what you've seen, do you have any tips for how advisors who are talking about tax planning in their marketing, how they can make it apparent that, it's not just a buzzword?
I would focus on deliverables. I would focus on setting clear expectations of what the client can expect from you when you say tax planning, which you can use this on any topic. That's how you set yourself apart, is that you make it really clear, hey, if you work with us and we work with you on tax planning, here's what this means. We're going to get a copy of your tax return every year. We're going to double check that the things that we're doing together got reported on your tax return correctly. We have a 37-point checklist of opportunities we go through to identify. Sometimes there's going to be things we do together. Sometimes we're going to high five and say, you know what, Hillary, your return looks great. Let's come back to it next year. But the clearer we can make that what that journey looks like, the more valuable it's going to be to a potential client, because clients, whether they're consciously or subconsciously aware of it, they know that they get hit with the same buzzwords by everybody. So it's going to stand out when it actually makes sense to them. Oh, here's what's going to happen if I work with Hillary.
That's such a tangible piece of advice. Focus on the deliverables that you offer. Something that I've been talking about recently is this notion of kind of working in public. Don't keep your content creation is one thing, and then the work you do with clients is another. And I think sometimes they can feel like two very distinct things. But if you can really bring into, no, this is what our clients get when they work with us on tax planning, that's how you demonstrate that it's deeper.
Yeah. I like making it, setting clear expectations, and then sharing other success stories of how has this benefited other clients? Where have you saved them mistakes? Where have you found opportunities? Making this as tangible and real world as possible. Because, I don't know if it's a function of AI making it accelerating the use of buzzwords, but it seems to go in cycles where people think that, instead of articulating how I helped another client, all I need is the right combination of industry buzzwords and I will suddenly get more clients. If I put fiduciary in the right place in my description, if I put fees in the right place in my bio, if I use the right acronym after my name, all of that is nonsense. CPA is a better acronym than all of those. I mean, market data will tell you that over and over again. So don't focus on how you pretty up your bio the best. Make it clearer to the potential client what's actually going to happen if they work with you.
Yeah, I love that. So going back to the summit, you talked about, the value of the summit is, well, there's lots of value from the summit, but one of the most surprising things for you is advisors come together and they're sharing different ways that they add value and learning from each other. Can you provide a couple of, does an example come to mind?
Yeah. And I've been doing this for long enough now that I don't know that it's surprising at this point. We actually intentionally designed the summit to allow for places for that to happen. But an example that comes to mind from last year at the summit, there's an advisor there, a guy named Mike, who he owns some tax practices under his financial planning. So, I mean, he's doing tax planning at a level that most advisors wouldn't even dream of. And so if I had been talking to Mike one-on-one, I probably would have focused on completely different things. But by giving people a place to ask questions and learn from each other, when it came time for that, the question that Mike asked was, hey, can people give me examples of how you're articulating the value proposition of doing a Roth conversion succinctly in a way that clients will understand? And so then even though I'm the one on stage with the microphone, I just kind of step back and say, okay, who else? And there were multiple analogies that came up that I had never heard before. And, and you could see everybody taking notes, because since I talk about this kind of stuff all the time, it's really easy to get in a habit of here's how I talk about Roth conversions, or here's how I talk about charitable giving. And so it's beneficial for me. It's beneficial for everyone in the room, because we all want to be able to share things that are authentic to us. And so there's going to be advisors who hear how I talk about estimated payments. They're like, I can't quite say it the same way. I'd love a different way to say it. And so giving people the platform to say, okay, here's how this works.
That sounds like a really powerful room to be in. What else can people expect from the summit?
Yeah. So the summit, so we're going into our third year of the summit. The first 2 years were much more pure tax focused sessions, kind of start to finish. And then this is where we love just getting people in a room and seeing what we can learn from them, because what we are hearing from advisors, part of why I'm on a podcast like this, is they love the tax topic as an entry point, but they have other questions. Taxes don't work in a silo. And so we are getting questions on, yeah, but how do I delegate this to a team member so it actually happens? How do I find time in my day to incorporate tax planning? How do I use tax planning to market and get new clients? And so we've expanded it this year. It'll be over 2.5 days where there will be a tax theme to everything that we do, but we're going to have sessions on recruiting and developing team members. We're going to have sessions on understanding the compliance environment you work in and whether it's time to make a move. We're definitely going to have a lot of tax heavy sessions. We've got Jeff Levine coming from the Kits' team. We've got Sarah Brenner coming from the Ed Slott team to really dive deep on tax topics. But just across the board, we make sure that we're providing opportunities. We do really long breaks between sessions. And when people come and ask me questions, that's something we reinforce to all of our presenters of, if you get asked a question that you don't have the firsthand experience with, point people to the person who does. And so when people come to the summit and they ask me a question, again, if I go back to last year, there's a couple of questions that came up around, hey, what is that like for a financial advisor right after they've purchased a tax practice? And I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't tell you firsthand. I can theorize about it. I can relay other information to you. But this is why I love being in person, because I can say, oh, see Bob over there, he's been through this, or see Josh over there, he's been through this. Let me go introduce you to him so that he can tell you what his experience was. And it exponentially elevates the experience and the value that people get out of an event like that.
Yeah, it sounds like it's really gone from elevating one part of your practice to really elevating it all at the same time, which I really do think kind of needs to happen, because when you elevate one part of your business, you can't just let the other parts stay the same, right? Everything has to kind of shift and evolve.
Yeah, and so we're super intentional about who we put on stage and who we bring in, even as our sponsors and partners. Because if you've never thrown an event before, the most shocking thing the first time you put on a large event is how much everything costs. It is mind-blowing how much it costs to reserve a hotel, to have food and beverage done. Like the numbers are baffling to me. And so to put on a good event, we have to have sponsors, we have to have partners. And we've been very intentional every year with having a small number of sponsors who we've heavily curated. And while our sponsors absolutely get on stage, we make it very clear to our sponsors, there is a difference between you as a sponsor in your booth selling the heck out of whatever it is you sell and you on our stage. And we let them know before they ever sign up that the fact that you wrote me a sponsorship check does not mean you can get on stage and say whatever you want. In fact, we've taken it to the point this year where, and all of our sponsors know this is not them learning this on this podcast. All of our sponsors will be on stage with someone from our host group. So myself, my brother Matthew Jarvis, our good friend Micah Shalansky, our business partner Jamie Shalansky, someone else in our core team will be on stage facilitating all of those conversations to make sure that every single session someone sits through is packed with value. And if they have follow-up questions, they can go to the booth.
I love that. That does sound super, super powerful. Well, I feel like we cannot end this conversation without talking about how you've marketed the conference. I mean, that sounds just like a whole other beast that I'm sure you never envisioned yourself undertaking. Now we're going to take a teeny tiny break to hear from our sponsors. FinCon is hands down my favorite conference because there is nowhere else you can be surrounded by hundreds of people who get your work and your passion for financial education. Whether you're podcasting, YouTubing, going all in on your email newsletter, or still figuring out how to turn your financial expertise into engaging content that attracts clients, FinCon is the place you'll find the tools, strategies, and community to grow your practice through content. The schedule is packed with opportunities to learn and make real connections with platform meetups, creator conversations, brand meetings with potential partners who serve your audience, and after-hours events where you can actually talk shop with people who understand what you're building. I would love for you to join me at FinCon 2025, the business event for money creators in Portland, September 10th through 12th. Come for the sessions and networking. Stay for the community. Make sure to use the code MONETA25 to get $25 off your creator pass. Visit finconexpo.com to grab your pass today. Oh, hey, I am a sponsor of my own podcast, and the thing that I am sponsoring just happens to be free. It's my 7-day email list growth sprint designed for advisors who are tired of posting into the void and want to actually grow their email lists with qualified leads so that you can make your email list your next best source of new clients. 7 days, 10 minutes per day, super actionable tactics that work. How do I know they work? because they're the tactics I use to grow my own email list. And they're exactly what I did to grow my email list by over 50 subscribers organically in just 30 days. Plus, you'll get exclusive access to my custom GPT lead magnet lab that generates compliance-aware lead magnet ideas specifically for financial professionals so that you can take your email list growth strategies to the next level. There is literally nothing else like it in our industry. So if you're ready to stop hoping that people will find you and start actively building your community, join the sprint at monetacopy.com/email sprint or find the link in the show notes. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to it.
Yeah, when we started Retirement Tax Services, we didn't have this pillar of, hey, eventually we're going to do large-scale in-person events. And so about 2 years in, we said, you know what? To take this to the next level, we really do need to do an in-person event. And so, I mean, Hillary, at the core of it, it's the same principles that apply to the rest of the marketing that we do. It's, okay, how did we get leads into the top of our funnel to get people onto our email list? What channels are we using to promote things? At the end of the day, most people take action in our kind of ecosystem through email marketing. And so we put a lot of work into curating our email list to get people on our email list. And for us, that really happens through putting out valuable content, for having, persuasive lead magnets. And then we make sure that, kind of like this conversation we're having, we're trying to highlight what is different about us, because we didn't come up with the idea of having a conference for financial advisor. There are endless conferences for financial advisors. So it's not going to do us any good to say, hey, here is another conference. Like, we have to be super intentional and diligent to highlight what is different. And thankfully for us, the conferences have gone very well, and the attendees keep coming back. They give us glowing reviews. And so we feel very fortunate. It's not even the right word. There's a lot of work that goes into it. It's rewarding to see the hard work paying off, that the deliverable is there and people love it. But for the people who haven't been yet, we still need to find a way to communicate to them, okay, here's why this is different. Here's why this is worth your investment. Because while it's really expensive to put on an event, it's also expensive to attend an event. You have to pay for the ticket to be there. You have to pay for your flights and hotel. We provide some of the food, but not all of it. What if you're going to stay in golf that weekend? You're going to miss 4 days of the office. Like, there are all these things that for you to come to the conference, especially if you're not local to Phoenix, Arizona, where it's going to be, in hard costs, you're probably looking at an investment of $3,000 to $5,000, and time out of the office, at least another few $1,000s. So now, if I'm thinking about this in terms of, hey, if I want Hillary to come to my conference, she needs to get at least $10,000 of value almost immediately, or this was a waste of her time. That's what motivates the way we organize the conference, and then how we try to highlight the marketing behind it is trying to identify for people, here's where you're going to get ideas you can implement that will generate more than $10,000 of value to your firm. And that's why you should come.
I love that. It sounds like you've been so intentional from the beginning about marketing the conference, because I think I equate it to marketing. If we're dialing this way down, marketing a webinar, right? Mm-hmm. It's something live that you have to get people to show up to. It's going to be embarrassing if they don't show up to it. So even if they register, you have to keep kind of nurturing them to get them to show up to it. Mm-hmm. But the stakes are so much higher with an event, because like you said, the numbers are astronomical. So you really have to make sure your marketing is on point.
Yeah, it is a whole different, even just from like a business standpoint of, when we throw large in-person events like this, typically we're committing to the venue about a year ahead of time. And the hotels don't want to be at risk here. And so you sign this contract. I've had to sign multiple. I've signed my third contract now. I'm about to sign my fourth one for 2026, where the contract basically says, hey, you're going to throw this event, and here's your food and beverage minimum, and here's your room revenue minimum. And if you don't hit these, if you decide to cancel your event, that's fine. You're just going to stroke us a giant check, 6-figure checks easily. And so it's daunting. The first one of those contracts I signed, I was definitely nervous, because I've never done this. What if we don't pull it off? So there is a whole other level of pressure. And this is somewhat self-imposed, but the first year we had about 80 people there, and that was a huge win for us. Mm-hmm. And then we signed a contract for a venue for the next year that could fit double that. And it's like, oh, okay, here we go. And we filled that. And so it almost doubled in year 2. This year, we're on track to have over 250 advisors at this conference. That's a sign from our sponsor partners and our team members. There'll be over 300 people there. And as we look at 2026, we're already talking about, well, we need a venue for 350 plus. And so, yeah, there's a lot of very intentional effort that goes into it, because there's a lot on the line here if we can't deliver.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Are you seeing that people who have attended the conference before, they're coming back?
Yeah, absolutely. Which has been super fun. When we measure success of the conference, we look at it, not just, we look at it for attendees and did they get value and did they sign up to come back. We look at it same for speakers and same for sponsors. We want everyone who comes to have a great experience. So we have people that will be coming back for their third year this year. We have sponsors who are coming back for their third year this year. I mean, people voting with their money is the most conclusive proof to me that there is value in what we're doing. And we love to see that expand every year. And then, of course, I'll take the other things like getting named to the Kitsis list of top conferences. That also makes it feel like, hey, we're doing something here. The fact that we're starting to bring in bigger and bigger outside speakers as well. These are all things that are that social proof of hey, there's validity to this. But at the end of the day, really what I'm going to measure is, did the people who come and experience the event provide positive feedback, and did they vote with their dollars to come back the next year?
Well, okay, I have one more question and then we'll kind of wrap up. So as I'm thinking about you asking people for feedback, I think that's something that we all need to do from our audiences a little bit more, no matter what it is that you're asking for feedback on. So whether it's asking for feedback on your lead magnet that you created, or whether it's asking for feedback on your service from your clients, right? If you are doing that compliantly as an advisor, do you have any advice for how you can kind of get people to give you that feedback?
It's a good question. And I'm clearly just operating off of personal experience here. But the other thing that I feel like we need to comment on when we talk about getting feedback, anytime you create anything and put it out in the public, you have to know there's going to be people who don't like it. And the bigger that stage gets, the more people that won't like it. It's still going to be a relatively small percentage, but just be prepared for that. The first time I ever got negative feedback on something I had done publicly, it kind of hurt a little bit. Well, hold on a second. Like, why would somebody say those things about me? And then you look at it then you have to take a step back and say, wait, there were 750 people that attended this webinar. 12 of them were upset. I actually ended up calling each one of them personally, but that's a whole different story. But yeah, so more specific to your question, like so many other things that we do, like if you start with, hey, what's in it for them? Make this, if you're just asking people for favors, if you're just begging people to spend their time just for your own benefit, it's unlikely that people are going to follow through on that. So specific to the event, I mean, we're tying it to how we can improve their experience for the next time. We make sure that we're very genuine, and you've got to show people you're going to follow through on this stuff. And so if you're going to ask for feedback and not implement any of it, you're going to really kill the rate of people giving you that feedback. So make sure that it's clear what's in it for them, how this is going to improve their experience, how they are helping themselves by helping for you. That'd probably be the single biggest thing. If it's not clear what's in it for them, you're probably not going to get good results.
Yeah, I think that's so smart. And, I really, as I've started marketing with advisors for over 5 years now at this point, I've really learned that you have to market everything that you do. You have to market your marketing. You have to market the feedback that you're asking for. You can't just market your services. You have to be thinking about, how can I show my audience what's in it for them at every stage of the process? So really appreciate that. As we kind of wrap up, is there anything else that you want to say about the summit or anything that I haven't asked you yet?
retirementtaxservices.com/summit is how you can get signed up. The seats are going quickly, but we do have a few left. So we would love to welcome more advisors to the event this year. But other than that, anything that's worth creating is going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take iterating and improving. And so if there is something you see value in, whether that's the service you offer to your clients currently or a new marketing channel, whatever that might be, you have to go into it committed to doing the work to make it a reality.
I love that. Well, Steven, you mentioned where they can go to learn about the summit. I'll link to that in the show notes. Where else can people find you if they want to see what you're up to?
The Retirement Tax Services podcast. I have lots of great guests like Hillary, for example. And the great thing about podcasts is that, at least the last stat I saw, is that most podcast listeners listen to about 7 podcasts. So that is an and, not an or. Don't replace Hillary's podcast with mine, but you can listen to them both for sure. And then follow me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there. I do my best to put out valuable content that even if LinkedIn's the only place you follow me, you're going to get tangible tax tips that you can take and implement for your clients.
Well, I can agree with that. Your LinkedIn content is so good, Steven. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of the behind the scenes with us. Really appreciate having you here. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of the Finance Marketing Podcast. If you're eager to market your business in a way that feels good and actually gets results, sign up for the Finance Marketing Podcast newsletter in the show notes so you never miss another episode. If you liked what you heard today, please be sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite listening app and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you back here next Friday.